So I've been a fan of the Clifton series for many years now, and with the Clifton 6 we returned back to that kind of more marshmallowy feel from the Clifton, and in the Clifton 7 wasn't really my favorite. I had some issues with the fit, but luckily with the Clifton 8 it fixes a lot of the things that I didn't like with the 7. So after doing tons of runs in it and way over 100 miles, I'm ready to give you my full review. So throughout this review I'll be using my Stoplight rating system. Green means there are more pros than cons, yellow means there are about equal pluses and minuses, and red means that there are more negatives than there are positives. So this shoe was not provided to me by Hoka, I bought it with my own money, so just like all my reviews there is nothing influencing me or my opinions. So with all that out of the way, let's get into the full review. Starting with the upper. Like I mentioned in my first impressions, the gusseted tongue of the Clifton 7 wrapped my foot too tight and made it feel too narrow. Luckily, Hoka addressed this issue in the Clifton 8, and this shoe feels way roomier now. It has enough room in the forefoot and the midfoot. Although the fit is roomier, it doesn't sacrifice the lockdown. The partially gusseted tongue still wraps the midfoot nicely, and I didn't have to crank down the laces or do a runner's loop to get a good lockdown. The thin mesh doesn't have overlays, so there's nothing that rubs on your foot, and the padding on the tongue and around the heel is very thick, but not overly so to the point that it gets in the way. So I wouldn't say that the mesh is light and airy, but it still has decent breathability to it. Alright, now let's talk about the midsole. Hoka is known for their cushioning, and the Clifton does not disappoint. It feels softer than the Clifton 7, and still has this thick slab of foam with 37mm in the heel, 32 in the forefoot, with a 5mm heel-to-toe drop. The Clifton isn't known for being responsive, it's more marshmallowy, and isn't like the Mach 4 or Rincon 3. However, it does have a little bit of responsiveness so that it doesn't feel like you're just completely running on sand. With Hoka's Metarocker geometry, the Clifton 8 has an extremely smooth ride. It never felt clunky despite the thick stack height, and it also never felt heavy or cumbersome. Sometimes with thick and light midsoles they suffer in the longevity department, and I feel like the older Cliftons had an issue with that. Luckily, with over 100 miles on the Clifton 8, they're still feeling soft and lively, and I'm not getting that packed down feeling like in previous versions. I'm curious to see how far I can push them. Alright, now let's move down to the outsole. The outsole coverage was increased a bit on the Clifton 8 and has more flex grooves. The rubber has been surprisingly durable. I see very little wear and know that they can handle many more miles. Although it's decently durable, it isn't the grippiest. As long as you stay on the road, treadmill, or dirt road, you'll be fine, but don't try and run on some muddy, sandy, technical trails in these. The rubber does contribute to some weight, but fortunately the Clifton 8 is able to keep it under 9 ounces, barely. At 8.9 ounces, it doesn't feel heavy for how much cushion it has. It's decently light. However, it isn't the lightest high cushion shoe out there either. Alright, now it's time for the run type stoplight portion of the review, where I go over speed day, everyday, long run day, and recovery day. For speed day, the Clifton 8 gets a red light. So although the Clifton 1 kind of started out as Hoka's lightweight shoe that a lot of people like to race marathons in, that is not what today's Clifton is. The midsole is super cushioned, but it lacks that nice responsiveness to really pick up the pace and do those hard workouts in. So for speed day, you're definitely going to want to pick up a different option. For everyday, the Clifton 8 gets a green light. So as I was doing my marathon training, I was logging lots of miles in this shoe, and just for my everyday runs, I actually really enjoyed the Clifton 8 and thought of it as more of a workhorse, which I never thought of the past Cliftons as a workhorse, and I think that's just because of the better durability all around, but especially in the midsole and outsole. I'm really pushing these shoes, they're staying nice and durable and comfortable, so they've been good for everyday training. Long run day gets another green light for the Clifton 8. So during my training cycle for the Boston Marathon, I did the majority of my long runs in this shoe actually, and even after 20 miles in this guy, my feet were still feeling pretty fresh, my legs weren't super beat up, and I was just happy that this shoe was on my feet. For recovery day, the Clifton 8 gets another green light. So I've said it many times before, and especially in my last Clifton reviews, but the Clifton is one of my favorite recovery day shoes. When I want to take it slow, take it easy, I want a shoe that's nice, soft, pillowy, and is just going to absorb the shock and let me just kind of go with the motion. And that rocker and that thick, pillowy, marshmallowy midsole on the Clifton 8 is ideal for those slower paces when you want to take it easy. So if I were to make a list of my favorite Hokas in no particular order, I would say that definitely the 1, the 3, the 6, and now the 8 are some of my favorites, with the 8 kind of getting at one of those top spots there. This is because I think it's just a lot better in terms of durability, making it a better workhorse like I mentioned, and I think that it's going to be able to log a lot more miles than the Cliftons of the past. However, it doesn't lose that ability to still be a great long run shoe and recovery day shoe. So the improved fit and the slightly softer midsole are two of my main takeaways from the shoe, and if you're a fan of max cushioning, the Clifton 8 is a must-have in my opinion. So real quick, let's talk about the price. The Clifton 8 comes in at $130, which for the amount of cushioning you get, I actually think it's a pretty decent deal considering a lot of those high cushion shoes typically cost around like $160 or more. Alright, it is time to take a look at the results. There is a ton of green with just a little bit of yellow, and because of this I'm going to give the Clifton 8 a go. As in, you shouldn't hesitate to buy this shoe. So go ahead and let me know in the comments down below, have you tried the Clifton 8? Are you a fan of it as much as I am? Go ahead and let me know, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of my upcoming news and reviews videos, and as always, keep on running.